Hello and welcome to episode 5, the 5th episode of Crosby's 9 podcast. How is everybody today? How is your English? Are you learning? Are you improving? Today is April 30th as we speak. Can you all repeat with me? Can you repeat with me, please? Today is April 30th as we speak. Today is April 30th as we speak. One more time. Today is April 30th as we speak. One more time. Today is April 30th as we speak. Now, a couple things. As we speak. What does that mean? It's an expression, as we speak. 3 words, as we speak. What does it mean? It simply means right now. As we speak, meaning right now, it's April 30th. Or you could say it's the 30th of April. Now, I have a recommendation for you. Pick one. Pick a format for saying the date. Sometimes, well, you have 2 choices, really. 2 easy choices. You can say April 30th or the 30th of April. Which one's easier for you? I think April 30th is easier to say than the 30th of April. But it doesn't matter. What I do want you to do, please, what I do want you to do, I can talk about that in a second. The emphasis. When we want to emphasize something, we use the auxiliary verbs. What I do want you to do is to pick one and be consistent with it. Because what happens is if you don't choose one and use it consistently, you'll never pick one. You'll never use it correctly, I should say. You will never use it correctly. Some people say, today is the April, today is April. No. Just pick one and use it all the time consistently. You can either say today is Tuesday, April 30th, or you can say today is Tuesday, the 30th of April. Now, when you're reading in English, when you're reading many times, a text will say April 30, right? Written, when it's written, you'll see, for example, the number 30, April 30. But when you're reading out loud, right, when we are reading English out loud, we don't say 30, we say 30th if we're referring to the date. And this is something that I want to emphasize. So if you're reading a text and it says, today is March 17, you see the 17, you see it, but you have to say 17th. Remember, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, the 20th, right? The number 20, we say the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd. So again, just pick one. Either say today is April 30th or today is the 30th of April. And what I do want you to do is be consistent. I like that. I like the way we can emphasize in English by using auxiliary verbs like do or does or did. He did tell me. Right? We can use these to make an emphasis, to emphasize that it really happened. I do want you to go. Let's say, for example, you and I are having a conversation about a concert. Yeah, there's a concert next week. Let's say that there is a concert next week. And for some strange reason, you have the impression that I don't want you to go. I don't know what it is. Maybe I said something. Maybe I didn't buy you the ticket. You know, maybe you thought I was going to buy you the ticket and I didn't. And so you are under the impression that I don't want you to go. But I do want you to go. I do want you to go. Right? I could say I want you to go, or I want you to go to the concert. But to emphasize that I really, 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 really want you to go, we'll use the auxiliary verb do in this case. I would say, but I do want you to go. And then, of course, we conjugate those accordingly. Let's say that Maria lives in Barcelona, right? And again, let's say, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think she lives in Madrid. And you say, but Drew, she does live in Barcelona. She does. I swear she does. She does live in Barcelona. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind as well. And we can use these auxiliary verbs with all types of situations. Of course, with did. Did might even be easier. Did means you don't have to think. You don't have to choose. Hey, wait a second. Do I hear my... Yes, I hear my neighbor's dog barking. Bark, 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 bark. Bark. Yeah, I knew this was going to happen eventually. My neighbor has a dog, and he barks, and he barks, and he barks. Okay, so if you hear a dog in the background barking, it's my neighbor's dog. I don't know his name. I should know, but I don't. But we have a large community around here, lots of neighbors, and that's my neighbor's dog barking. Bark. Woof, woof, woof. Woof, bark. Hey, by the way, what is bark? What is bark? Oh, well, we know it's a verb, right? I just said it. That's what dogs do. Dogs bark. Now, by the way, bark is what dogs do, right? By the way, though, when you learn new verbs, listeners, when you learn new verbs, first question, is it a regular verb or is it an irregular verb? Is bark a regular verb or is it an irregular verb? It's a regular verb. Bark, barked, barked. But remember, in the past simple and in the past participle, even though the verb ends in an E and a D, it sounds like a T, doesn't it? It sounds like a T in the past. Why? Does anybody know the unwritten rule why? One of the many unwritten rules we have in English. Most of them are unwritten. Why does bark in the past sound like a T? Why do I say barked and not barked? Please don't say barged or barked or no, it's barked. Bark, barked, barked. Why does it sound like a T? Because the verbs that are in the infinitive, in other words, verbs in their original format, that end in a sound where we don't use our voice, sound like a T in the past. In other words, if the infinitive ends in a sound where I only use air, like the verb to look, or like the verb to touch, touch. Well, in the infinitive, I'm not using my voice. The last sound is an unvocalized sound, touch, right? So that means, in the past, it sounds like a T for regular verbs, right? So, of course, it's T-O-U-C-H-E-D, T-O-U-C-H-E-D. It's a regular verb. We don't say touched, or we don't say touched, we say touched. Okay, so that's the unwritten rule. Bark, barked, barked, touch, touched, touched. So, just so you know, this is episode 5 of Crosby's 9 podcast. And yeah, you will hear my neighbor's dog. You will hear my neighbor's dog barking. And what can we do? What can we do about my neighbor's dog barking? I have no idea. These are things in life that you have to deal with, right? But we're going to we could include him in the podcasts. Maybe he could become a personality. We could call him Barky. But back to the word bark. Of course, the verb bark we just looked at. But what else is bark? What does bark mean? Bark is the substance, the material on the outside of a tree, right? Bark, a piece of bark. Sometimes bark falls off the tree, but the bark in general, bark is the skin, so to speak, the skin of a tree, the exterior part of a tree. So remember, listeners, we can use do and does and did to emphasize I do enjoy teaching you English on these podcasts. He does live in Barcelona. She did talk about that in the seminar. She did speak about that. So try to use those in your everyday English. Incorporate those into your English on a daily basis. And that's about it. Of course, later on in future podcasts, we'll look at how we can use other auxiliary verbs for emphasis as well. That's all for this episode of Crosby's 9 podcast. See you soon. Bye-bye.